What's going on, my super fam? Alright, today we have a bit of Wuthering wave content discussing some of the quite important matters before we head into patch 2.6, which is expected to be one of the largest patch in Renacita. Maybe it's going to be the end of Renacita, who knows, but we are expected to have a very good story coming up. But other than the story, characters are some of the most important in a single patch. This time around, we are expected to get both Augusta and Iuno in the same patch. Very sought out character, and many of us have been waiting for them, and they're shaping up to be really nice looking characters as well. With that, well, let us have a look into the character themselves and provide my personal opinion in terms of whether it's going to be worth it. So guys, if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe us. Once patch 2.6 arrive, I'm going to be holding a really huge giveaway on my Discord server, and there is a chance for you to win a lot of astrites. So be sure to join my Discord server also, as the link will be down below. With that, let's just dive right in. Okay, first off, Augusta is going to be the new character that comes right the moment patch 2.6 come. Now obviously I won't be going through every single part of her skills and kit here in this video, as it's going to be taking a very long time, but from what you've already seen in the animation that we've got from the live stream as well as her trailer, absolutely fantastic. Generally speaking, she isn't going to be too hard of a character to get used to whenever you look into her kit, because her combo rotation is generally pretty simple, but her animation wise is absolutely insane. You will feel the power of Augusta whenever you get to touch on her, and the sound effects of the thunder roaring off is just insane. It's absolutely animation power creep coming from Kuro. Whenever both Augusta and Iuno actually comes, they feels really good to play. I'm not kidding. Now, generally from her skill and kit, to sum it up, she's basically going to be the hyper carry for your account, focusing on heavy attack damage scaling. Other than that, she has the ability from her ultra skill to increase 15% damage application for all elements or all attributes from what it says. So it is very versatile for Augusta to be used in many different team comps. Now obviously she would love to have a supportive heavy attack damage buffer on the account, which is where obviously, you know, character like Iuno, who's a new character that's going to come in. Morphe, yeah, very similar supportive character to what, you know, similar to Yiyan. If you want to, then I think Yinlin can work, but Yinlin isn't going to hop too much, because the only thing she hop is going to be electro damage bonus, and generally heavy attack damage bonus character will yield slightly better result from, you know, some calculations that we have seen. Other interesting potential character is going to be Frolova. Increases heavy attack, but other than that, even though she also increases havoc and Augusta can't make use of it, but Frolova does have the ability to do amazing sub DPS damage. So overall, the team comp of Augusta, Frolova and Shorekeeper generally does really nice number, but at the current point, Augusta, Iuno and Shorekeeper team is expected to be the best team, while obviously Iuno and Augusta just works absolutely amazing with each other. So yeah, that's generally the idea about Augusta at the current point, which is where, yeah, again, you would have to think whenever it comes to Augusta, even though she is a nice looking character, very good feeling whenever you play, but again, she is a hyper carry on your account. So yeah, you'd have to look into whether or not you need another hyper carry on your team. I don't think she'd have a hard time having good supportive character on her team, because, well, generally speaking, I'm pretty sure you're going to be having Morphe already, and then many of you may also have Shorekeeper. Even if you don't have Shorekeeper, then Verena technically will still work. So building a team Augusta isn't generally too hard, but you have to look into if you need another hyper carry on your account currently, especially when you've got like Iuno, you've got Shorekeeper, you've got Carlotta, and Ciaccona will definitely be touching on those characters in a bit, but it is a very huge patch, so really think about it. But obviously from all the scaling that she has, from the look of every animation that she's got, I'm pretty sure that she is going to be a very high tier character. She's going to be able to dish out a really nice number for you. So in that front, you would don't really have to think about it too much. Other than that, for those of you who are already thinking about Augusta, whether or not her weapon is going to be worth it, I definitely say it's going to be worth it because holy hell, this weapon is powerful. Even though it only got like 12% crit rate, but it does have high base. Other than that, the passive is really interesting. You get like 12% attack increase with extra 20% heavy attack damage. The more important thing is that this weapon geared more towards Augusta herself, because whenever you gain a shield, your heavy attack damage will ignore 7.2% of the target defense, and that stacks up to 5 times, which is really good. And considering in her kit's native ability, she does have regenerative shield obtaining, so obviously she will be able to make full use of this weapon. But other options, obviously it's going to be the Verdant Summit, really similar weapon because it's used on Yiyan. Augusta should be able to make use of it. Lustrous Razor, Age of Harvest, those are going to be very decent 5-star that you can make use of. And obviously if you are more free-to-play player, you're probably just going to have to try and use any of the DPS 4-star broadblade that you have access to provide that to Augusta herself. Moving on, we have our lovely Iuno. It's sad that I have to wait a bit before I get access to Iuno herself, but man, she's an obviously gorgeous character. I'm sure many of us are going to be trying to get her as well. She's definitely more of a slightly unique character because what Iuno actually does is more toward the supportive capability on the team, but that's not to say that she can't deal damage with her. Man, she's got access to really nice damage output. How her gameplay works is a little bit tougher to get used to whenever you start Iuno out, but obviously as time goes by, I'm pretty sure you guys are going to be getting used to it. And it's really good looking as well. She's going to be in the air doing damage most of the time, so the good thing about Iuno is that you will be able to dodge many of the ground attack from your enemies. Like she's literally flying in the air, raining down arrows onto your enemies, making her, yeah, if you want to build her as a DPS character, she will be able to do really nice numbers. Not to mention the tankiness capability that she's got access to, for she does have access to healing, a bit of shielding for herself only at an S0 level, really nice scaling from her damage output. She's going to be focusing on liberation damage output, so you can think about that whenever you're building a team if you like a DPS Iuno. But the more important thing when it comes to Iuno herself is she has the ability to increase heavy attack damage, and it's actually an insane number of 50%. Literally the character with the highest increase in the game currently. So yes, on top of being a pretty tanky character that can deal damage, she heals your team but can also buff heavy attack, which again it is for Augusta. If you want the best of the best Augusta teams, Iuno is generally the one to go. And yeah, other character can definitely make use of Iuno. Whoever it is that uses heavy attack, Iuno will be able to help them out. You know, like Yan, right? Zani, even Phoebe will still be able to make use of Iuno's supportive capability. So honestly speaking, again, as I've mentioned before, if Augusta herself already is a hyper carry and you've got so many hyper carry that you don't feel is worth it, Iuno for me personally does have a much better pooling value when it comes to specifically in patch 2.6, especially when you would technically be rather tight on Astrite if you are deciding to try and go for many characters at once in this single patch. Now for Iuno's weapon, it is technically not confirmed in terms of the stats because we do have to wait a bit of time. We do have a look at the weapon design itself, and it is mesmerizing. Like I mentioned before, Iuno and Augusta are generally having a lot of animation power creep because everything on them just look absolutely beautiful. For the weapon itself, it will potentially have around a 36% crit rate increase. Other than that, you get attack percent increase as well as 20% liberation damage increase, and you also have similar effect where your liberation damage will ignore 7.2% of target's defense, stacking up to 5 times. So very similar to what Augusta weapon itself, but generally this weapon is for Iuno most of the time. You can try to slot it into other characters that scale with liberation damage bonus like Shanli Yao, but you know, the second part of it, it's really much a wasted. So generally it is only recommended to try and pull for this weapon if you are going for Iuno herself. Now, on the topic of discussing about weapons, I just like to touch on the new Battle Pass weapon that is going to be coming as well. Some of you might be actually looking into it. So what the new Battle Pass weapon series are generally going to be is they are really much focusing on DPS wise. Now, at face value, it does seems to be good because yeah, you can provide this for your DPS character. But the bad thing about this is that again, you are spending a bit of money, and generally if you want to have the Battle Pass weapon be competitive toward the higher tier of the 5-star weapon themselves, you are required to try and get to a refinement 5, and that is generally going to be $50, not to mention you will have to wait like 5 patches. Generally the swords are going to be focusing on character like Rover mostly. There aren't too many sword characters that actually specifically skill with liberation damage bonus, so yeah, you're still going to be better off trying to get the specific stats on the other character when it comes to weapon of choice. The Broadblade, yeah, this is generally going to be for Augusta, Yon, so if you do have it, it's kind of nice, but again, it is going to be still far behind the 5-star weapon itself. Pistols, well, technically nobody at the current point, maybe for Cabrera, most likely, because why would you create a new Battle Pass weapon without having a single character to actually make use of it? For Gauntlet, that's going to be for Iuno, Shangli Yao, and maybe Zani, who really want it. And then for Rectifier, it gives you crit damage as well as attack and basic attack damage increase. So character like Encore, Jojo, Cantarella, maybe if you want to, then BB can still make use of it. Again, it is not bad. Like if you buy the Battle Pass, you get extra all the rewards from the Battle Pass as well as these weapons, and then later on you do get the refinement 5 of these weapons. There is value because again, most of the DPS character will be able to make use of it, but when it comes to value wise, I think spending $50 and you better off try to spend $50 in one go, try to get the 5-star weapons of your choice, and that might be a better way of investing into the character themselves. Moving on, we have a very important character, and that is Shorekeeper. Well, I don't think I have to actually advertise Shorekeeper in any way because holy freaking hell, is she such an important character. Generally speaking, if you haven't got Shorekeeper on your account, I have no idea why, unless you're somebody who just started the game or you don't have the astrite to pull for Shorekeeper herself, which is, you know, really something you prioritize. As Shorekeeper herself finds to have a place on basically literally every single teams that you can possibly think of in the game at the current point. But obviously, all DPS character would love to have extra crit rate and crit damage being increased for them. It's just such a good thing that Shorekeeper actively do, that while I don't know when Shorekeeper is going to be having a rerun, but obviously she's going to be technically the most important character in this whole damn patch. So that's going to be the case for those of you who haven't got Shorekeeper. But I know many of you already have Shorekeeper and is thinking about investing more into her. So when it comes to investing more into Shorekeeper, first off, we do have her weapon, which is not too important for Shorekeeper herself because you do have access to other options like the variation. If you do have the variation, you can make use of it. It is decently nice. But if you do have the weapon, it is still very good because first of all, not only do you have energy regen increase, so she gets to that 250 energy regen mark, that's more simple. You get concerto energy increase, so that's going to be a bit of quality of life for Shorekeeper to have her rotation faster. But other than that, you do have a 14% attack damage increase for your party member. Now this is generally for attack, so character that scale off of HP won't be able to make use of it, but there are very few characters that really focus on HP scaling for DPS character at the current point, and the only character that I can think of most of the time is going to be Carlotta, right? She uses HP in her build, but other than that, the very good thing about Shorekeeper is when it comes to the sequence, especially the first two, and then generally I would just say the only worst worth it sequence for Shorekeeper is just S1 or S2. The rest is literally not really good. It doesn't really help you too much, but when it comes to S1, it is actually a pretty nice quality of life increase. Now on face value, whenever we're reading this, the quality of life increase might not seem that nice, but if you do have S1, and I've been playing around with S1 and I do feel the difference, especially when you're up against bosses enemies that move around a lot. Even when I have an S1 Shorekeeper, many of the time the hologram bosses themselves still go outside her circle. But yes, overall, if you're deciding to just get S1 Shorekeeper, it's definitely not going to be worth the pool. But what S1 does allow you is to get very much closer to an S2 with a 40% attack increase for all of your party member. That's absolutely nuts considering how many characters are still scaling off of attack percentage. And you also have sub DPS characters, you know, like Iuno, Pantarella, Jojo, and many more other sub DPS characters, not just your hyper carry, can make use of this buff, making your team increase to a whole new level. You will see a big difference with an S2 Shorekeeper, so yes, it is really good. So do think about investing into it whenever you can. Now the good thing about Wuthering Wave itself is that you do have the ability to use the coral. Now obviously sometimes you will be using it so you don't have it on reserve, but if you've been pulling for example on Shorekeeper S1, generally I think you are going to be pretty close to actually just go ahead and buy. I think if I remember, I think it's around 360 coral for the limited character, so saving up a bit and you can technically just go ahead and straight up buy the Resonance Chain, and that's going to be really good and something that's really nice that Wuthering Wave allows us to do. And that's for Shorekeeper. But other than that, guess who's back? Our lovely Carlotta. I'm sorry, Carlotta, you're just too adorable to not say that name. Man, what else can I say about Carlotta apart from the fact that she's just absolutely an amazing character? She's really powerful, not with just the fact that she can dish out really good number nuke wise, but the really good thing about Carlotta that I feel stands out a lot compared to other DPS characters is that she has the ability to actually freeze your enemy, and this ability is actually really broken as well, as generally sometimes when it comes to freezing enemies it only works on smaller enemies, but there's also work for hologram bosses as well. And that is really good because sometimes the ability to freeze a boss allows her to fully use her liberation without getting knocked back. But other than that, stop them in their track as well when it comes to quick swapping, and then you do damage with your sub DPS character and many other things that Carlotta is really good at doing. She is a gun character, so obviously she will be able to do damage really far, but the ability for her to close the gap is absolutely insane with her elemental skill, because most of the time she will be able to close the distance regardless of how far your enemy is. Well, obviously not too far away, but it is very far. Honestly, out of all the DPS character, I still think Carlotta is still holding up very well. She doesn't really need you to invest into her really much. She does have access to great free-to-play team building because yeah, if you do have Tauchi, then Tauchi will still be able to increase Carlotta team really well. But again, still at the end of the day, she is a DPS hyper carry character on the account, so you still have to think about it whenever you're investing into Carlotta. I really love Carlotta. I really wish that I have the ability to go ahead and pull more of her sequence if I have the ability, but with the fact that this patch there's so many new characters, I don't think I'll have the ability to invest more into Carlotta. But if you are looking into investing into her, Last Dance is really good for her, like I'm not kidding. Obviously there are other free-to-play options that you can go with, but honestly if you are investing into Carlotta, try to go for the Last Dance, especially when the weapon is guaranteed in a Wuthering Wave. Looking into her sequence though, obviously most of her sequence just allow her to do more damage. You know, I pulled for S1 because I did find a bit of quality of life increase, and you know, extra crit rate does help her quite a bit. Especially the last hit of her liberation is really important on her, because if you do miss a crit, that is a huge DPS loss. The S1 is really nice on Carlotta herself. But other than that, if you are looking into investing into Carlotta, then Jojo is definitely a character that you would love to have a look into. The only character in the game right now that buff both glacial and resistant skill damage and everything that Carlotta kind of neat. But I don't think JoJo is coming back anytime soon, maybe next patch. So yeah, you don't really have to think about JoJo too much currently. And then other than that, we have a songstress Ciaccona, right? Now at first, when Ciaccona was first released, her value wasn't too important because she focused so much on erosion damage that there is not any character that was able to actually make use of her. However, that changed entirely when Carlotta comes, making Ciaccona basically the best character when it comes to Carlotta teams because of everything that she does, from amplifying 100% erosion damage to constantly applying air erosion with her liberation. Other than Carlotta herself, obviously since she has the ability to apply Spectral, she is also a pretty decent supportive character on your Zani's team if you don't like Phoebe. Now obviously she's not going to be as good as Phoebe herself, but Ciaccona is still a pretty decent character, and I think Zani with Ciaccona on the team still works absolutely fine, especially when you're going to be working alongside with Arrow Rover most of the time anyway. But other than that, Ciaccona damage wise is also really good. Her rotation is rather fast also if you do know how to do her rotation properly, and then obviously other than that, she has the ability to go ahead and sing for you. Now sometimes you may find it annoying, but personally I don't think this is really bad because at the end of the day you do have the ability to enjoy a songstress that actually really sings. Now that being said, even though Ciaccona is really good, she's definitely not a must-have character on Carlotta's team because obviously Carlotta can still work alongside with a Shorekeeper if you really do want to. But overall, still Ciaccona is very good alongside with Carlotta. Therefore, if you really do want a really good Carlotta team, Ciaccona is technically going to be a needed on her team. Now Ciaccona investment is fine. Obviously her weapon does help you have access to really nice buff with attack increase. Other than that, the ability to have arrow resistance decrease is obviously a really nice thing, especially on Carlotta's team, and especially when you're only having one gun character that can do really well on Carlotta's team, especially with arrow character. Then yeah, Ciaccona with her guns, if you do have the ability to invest into it, is an amazing character to support specifically Carlotta at the current point. It's very hard for her to support any other character with this set. If you're building Ciaccona to support Zani for example, then you can just go ahead and use the standard 5-star gun weapon on Ciaccona herself, and you do really want to have kind of like a Moonlit Cloud set being built onto your Ciaccona. So a little bit of investment regarding Echo building that site, but it does allow her to have ability to be a little bit more versatile when it comes to everything that she does. So guys, with everything that just had been said, here's going to be my pooling investment priority for you guys in this patch. Is that obviously if you haven't got Shorekeeper, I think you guys might want to prioritize pooling for Shorekeeper because she is used on literally every team as we have mentioned. Now if you've already got Shorekeeper, then generally speaking I think it's going to be more worth it to look into the other characters for pooling, because while you do technically get a new character to play around with other than just getting her weapon or her sequence, right? So other investment apart from characters themselves is going to be less important compared to pooling for new characters. Other than that, the rest actually depends a lot on your account, because that's the thing with Wuthering Waves. It comes down to your preference, right? Because character like Carlotta and Augusta is purely hyper carries, therefore they come down a lot to whether or not you like them as a character to play and would you like to actually invest more into them as a character. And then for Ciaccona and Iuno, right, they are more specific supportive character towards your other teams. It goes for Carlotta, for Ciaccona mostly if you really do enjoy your Zani, you don't want Phoebe, then you can consider Ciaccona. And as for Iuno, it is obviously for Augusta. If you love to have really nice Augusta team, then definitely Iuno is the way to go. Like other than that, Yian, also Zani can technically make use of a Iuno team. And generally speaking, I think Ciaccona and Iuno can technically work on the same team with all the potential arrow damage increase that Ciaccona can do. Therefore, it also works for Iuno sub DPS damage as well. So yeah, those are going to be a bit of an investment investment for your side, but it actually comes down a lot to your accounts and whether or not you would like to build your team surrounding a character that you are looking to invest in. So guys, I think that's all I have to say regarding the pooling investment of patch 2.6, right? 2.6 is literally coming, I would just say, in a couple of hours time, so we are very excited. But hopefully this guide had already been able to solve some of your questions. However, if you do have any other questions, leave it down in the comment section and I or some other lovely Wuthering Wave player will get to you there. Again guys, if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe and join the Discord server to not miss out on the future giveaway that we're going to be doing. With that, I wish you a super day and we'll catch you on the new patch of Septimon.